The Galactic Council gathered in secret, their cold eyes fixed on the blue planet that had dared to defy them. They voted to exile Earth, thinking humans would beg or break. But Earth didn't wait to hear the verdict. Humanity stood up, united in rage and hope. What could force an entire species to act before the universe finished its sentence? Read on to discover the choice that changed everything. ***, the Hall of the Galactic Council floated in the darkness of space, orbiting a dying red star that pulsed like a fading heartbeat. Its walls were ancient, carved from black stone taken from a moon lost to time. Light drifted across the council chamber in cold beams, shining on the faces of 100 alien delegates. They came from every corner of the galaxy, tall creatures with crystal eyes, beings with wings of burning light, small forms covered in scales or fur. All of them sat in a perfect circle, their eyes fixed on a single glowing sphere at the center. Of the room, the sphere showed Earth a small blue world turning slowly in black space. The image spun as the council speaker began to talk, his voice low and cold, echoing in the silent hall. "Today," he said, "we decide the fate of humanity. Today we vote whether Earth stays or is exiled from the Council of Worlds." No one whispered, no one moved. Even the star outside seemed to grow still. A mechanical voice began to call the names of each delegate. One by one, they stood and raised their hands or claws or tentacles. "Exile," they said. "Exile." Over and over, the word fell like a hammer striking stone. On Earth, no one was supposed to know about this vote. The council had chosen secrecy. They believed humans were primitive, too slow, too emotional to keep up with the old powers of the stars. They thought humanity would only learn about the exile after the vote was finished, when it was too late to fight or even complain, but they underestimated humanity. Deep beneath Earth's surface, in a hidden room far below a mountain, a small team of men and women listened to the council's transmission. Screens glowed softly, showing the council hall and the voting sphere. The humans had spent years building secret listening stations to watch the council's movements. They had always worried that one day the galaxy would turn against them. Now they were watching it happen in real time. The room was silent except for the crackle of the transmission. A woman with gray hair and sharp eyes stood at the center, her hand trembling over a console. She knew what the words meant: exile. Humanity would lose trade, protection, and allies. Worse, they would become targets for any pirate or conqueror who wanted an easy prize. Earth would be alone. How long until the vote finishes? A young man asked, his voice tight. "Not long," she answered. "They're more than halfway through." In the council chamber, the vote continued. A massive creature made of living. Vines stood, its leaves rustling. "Exile," it said in a voice like wind through dead trees. A being of pure silver light shimmered. "Exile." An insectoid delegate with jeweled eyes clicked its mandibles. "Exile." Each new vote made the humans in the hidden room feel colder. The woman knew they had to move fast. Once the vote finished, the council would send a notice. Then Earth would have no chance to respond without looking weak or desperate. The council expected humans to beg for mercy or sink into chaos. They were wrong. She slammed her hand down on a red button. An alarm began to flash through underground bunkers, hidden labs, and secret shipyards across Earth and its colonies. Secure lines connected leaders from every nation. Generals, scientists, and even enemies who had never spoken before now saw each other's faces on screens. In that moment, the divisions of Earth fell away. They were no longer countries. They were humanity. "Council plans to exile us," the woman said, her voice calm but burning with fury. "They think we will wait for their message. But we will not wait. We will act now." In the council hall, a thin alien with skin like cracked stone stood up. "Exile," he croaked. The vote was nearly complete. The sphere in the center showed Earth's image turning slower, as if time itself was holding its breath. On Earth, missiles were taken from hidden silos and placed on launch-ready status, not to attack, but to defend. Engineers flooded secret hangars, waking ships that had never been seen by alien eyes. Pilots who had trained in darkness climbed into cockpits. Coders pushed final commands into powerful AIs that would control Earth's defenses if humans fell, everywhere. Normal people looked up at the night sky, unaware of the danger, but feeling something had changed. They felt the stars watching. Back in the council hall, the last delegates rose. Their votes sealed humanity's fate. Exile! The council speaker nodded slowly. He turned to the sphere to send the final notice. But in that second, a tremor passed through the hall as an urgent message appeared on the council's own screens, a message not from any council world, but from Earth. It simply read, Earth rejects your exile. We will choose our own destiny. The council chamber erupted in gasps and angry shouts. In the darkness of space, Earth's ships began to rise from hidden docks, engines roaring to life. Humanity would not wait to be told twice, asterisk, asterisk. Beneath mountains and deep in oceans, hidden bunkers came alive with light and movement. The world's most powerful leaders, scientists, and generals gathered in secret rooms carved from rock and steel. Some arrived in helicopters that landed on lonely mountain peaks, others stepped through hidden doors in quiet cities, and a few descended from space stations orbiting far above Earth. For the first time in history, every leader of Earth's nations sat together. They all knew one thing: the Galactic Council's vote was almost complete. The message declaring Earth's exile could arrive at any moment, and if humanity waited for that message, they would appear, weak and helpless to the entire galaxy. Enemies among the stars would smell blood. Pirates, warlords, and old rivals of the Council would see Earth as easy prey. A tall general with silver hair stood up at the table's head. His voice was deep, tired but strong. We cannot wait to be told we are alone, he said. If we wait, we die as cowards. We must act now and show the galaxy we are not afraid. A woman in a white lab coat, her eyes sharp behind thick glasses, leaned forward. Our research has advanced further than anyone knows, she said softly but firmly. We have weapons, shields, and ships they don't expect. If we move first, they will think twice before attacking us. Screens around the room flickered to life, showing live feeds from hidden shipyards. Massive battleships slept in dark hangars under deserts and oceans. Sleek interceptors, built with stolen alien technology and secret human ingenuity, were already warming their engines. These ships were humanity's last hope and their greatest secret. A diplomat in a dark suit spoke next. His face was pale, his voice unsteady. We have spent decades trying to earn the Council's trust, he said, his eyes moving from one leader to the next. But now we see what they truly think of us. If we do nothing, they will exile us today. If we act boldly, we might earn respect or fear, and fear can keep us alive. The room fell silent. The only sound was the hum of air vents and the distant crackle of secure communications. Finally, a young woman, barely 30, who represented one of the smallest countries on Earth, stood up. Her voice broke the quiet like a bell. For the first time in history, humanity must be one people, she said. No flags, no borders, just humans. If we fail to stand together now, we will fall alone. The words carried through the bunker, carried through screens to other bunkers, space stations, and command centers across Earth and its colonies. Generals in orbiting stations watched the meeting with grim faces. Scientists in Antarctic labs paused their experiments. Miners on the moon stopped drilling and looked up at Earth hanging in the black sky. Everywhere, humans began to realize the truth. They were part of something far greater than their own lives. They were part of humanity. As plans were laid out, old rivals faced each other across the table. Nations that had once threatened nuclear war now traded handshakes. Military officers who had spent careers spying on each other shared codes, knowledge, and fears. The Council's vote had done something no one expected. It united Earth. Engineers projected blueprints of secret starships onto the walls. Massive vessels with hulls designed to slip past Council sensors. Stealth engines that could carry humans anywhere without being seen. Hidden weapon systems powerful enough to fight Council ships. The leaders watched in silence, knowing these ships were Earth's only chance. A team of cyber specialists connected the meeting rooms to satellites in orbit and drones floating high in Earth's atmosphere. Their task was simple but dangerous: intercept every Council transmission. If the exile announcement came early, they had to block or delay it, giving Earth time to finish preparations. Every second mattered. Outside the bunkers, normal life went on. Children played in parks, cars moved through busy streets, and people looked at the sky without knowing how close they were to losing everything. But underground, humanity's fate was being decided. Then a sudden alert flashed across every screen. A Council ship had left its hidden post near the edge of the solar system. It was headed straight for Earth. The Council's messenger was coming. The tall general's voice boomed through the bunker. It's time. Orders were given with rapid precision. In hidden shipyards, construction robots doubled their speed. Spaceports that looked abandoned to the outside world roared with secret activity. Engines lit up, casting bright blue glows across dark hangars. Soldiers in exosuits prepared for deployment. Scientists locked down labs to protect their work. In every city, special teams quietly positioned themselves near communication hubs. Their mission, ensure Earth's message, went out before the Council's exile notice arrived. The young woman who had called for unity stepped to a microphone. Across every secret room and station, her voice played. They chose to exile us. She said, her words simple but fierce. But we will not wait for exile. We will rise. We will show the stars who humans truly are. In that moment, fear turned to fire in every human heart. Old anger was forgotten. Hopes and dreams that had long been kept small burned bright. Humanity was ready to stand as one, and far above the stars watched as Earth prepared to make its stand. Deep in the darkness of space, far from Earth's bright cities, massive shadows began to move. Hidden shipyards orbiting moons and asteroids came alive with lights and the roar of engines. These shipyards had been built in secret, one piece at a time, hidden from the Council's eyes by clever codes and false reports. Now, after years of silence, they awakened like sleeping giants. In the icy rings of Saturn, a massive dry dock opened its armored doors. Inside rested the Titan-class dreadnoughts, Earth's most powerful warships. Each one was a mountain of steel and fire, bristling with weapons unknown to the Council. Blue lights swept across their hulls as crews ran to stations, their boots echoing on metal floors. Around Jupiter, small black ships shaped like knives detached from hidden platforms buried under the planet's thick clouds. These were stealth cruisers, their surfaces coated with adaptive armor that made them almost invisible. Engines whispered to life, pushing them into dark space. They were ghosts, ready to slip behind enemy lines or strike before anyone saw them. Coming. In secret hangars on Earth's moon, swarms of interceptors rolled out. Small, fast, and deadly, they looked like flocks of deadly birds. Mechanics in dark uniforms worked without rest, fueling engines, checking weapons, and running final systems tests. Pilots climbed into cockpits, their faces pale but determined. Many were barely older than 20, but their eyes burned with fierce purpose. Civilians in these secret places were sworn to silence. Engineers, technicians, and support staff signed oaths under penalty of death. They knew if a single word reached the Council before Earth's plan was ready, humanity would lose its only chance. Security teams checked every message, every call, every person. In these final hours, trust was everything. Above Earth, hundreds of satellites shifted their positions, forming a protective net. These satellites carried new shield technology developed in hidden LA-based technology powerful enough to block Council weapons for a short time. Every minute the shields could hold would mean thousands of lives saved. On Earth's surface, armored convoys moved through empty highways under the cover of night. They carried the last components needed to finish the hidden fleet: advanced reactors, stealth plating, and experimental energy weapons. Drones hovered above the convoys, scanning for spies or sabotage. The roads were silent, lit only by moonlight and the cold blue glow of electric engines. Deep underground, a massive command center came online. Walls of screens showed live feeds from every shipyard and orbital station. Commanders watched rows of blinking lights, each light a ship coming to life. Technicians whispered final launch codes. Engineers adjusted trajectories. The hidden armada was assembling faster than anyone had dreamed possible, families of the men and women working in. The shadows knew nothing. Mothers, fathers, children slept in their homes, unaware that their loved ones were risking everything in dark places far above. But the workers carried their families' photos in pockets and helmets, silent reminders of why they were willing to sacrifice. As the fleet grew, leaders in the secret bunkers watched the numbers rise. Hundreds became thousands. Ships arranged into attack groups, support squadrons, and stealth wings. Algorithms calculated the best formations to surprise or overwhelm the Council's fleets. Every ship was given a mission, every pilot a target. In the darkness of space, the hidden armada's lights winked like stars coming alive. But these were not gentle stars, they were weapons forged from humanity's fear and hope. Engines burned softly, ready to ignite at a moment's notice. Weapons sat charged, silent and deadly. In the command center, the woman with gray hair who had first given the order to prepare the fleet stood watching the screens. She saw the lights multiply, spreading across the black sky. Her voice was quiet, but carried through the room like a promise. "This is the strength they never saw coming," she said. "This is humanity." A young officer asked, his voice shaking, "Will it be enough?" She looked at him with hard, tired eyes. "It must be," she said simply. Far away, the Council's messenger ship passed Neptune, racing toward Earth with the exile notice, but the hidden fleet was almost ready. Humanity would not wait. Humanity would not bow. Somewhere among the stars, the first dreadnought's engines flared to life. Its massive hull turned toward the Council's heart. Across the fleet, captains reported in, their voices clear and calm. "Ship online. Standing by." One by one, the ships of Earth rose from the darkness, invisible to the galaxy, but very soon impossible to ignore. The hidden armada was awake. Humanity was ready to choose its own fate. Asterisk, 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 asterisk. Far above Earth, in the silence of space, an ancient satellite turned its dish toward the stars. It was old, built in the first days of humanity's reach beyond the sky. But today, it would carry the most important message Earth had ever sent. Inside a hidden control room, a small team of technicians worked quickly, their hands shaking as they entered the final commands. Screens showed the progress of the Council's messenger ship as it sped toward Earth. Time was almost gone. A deep voice echoed through the underground bunker. It belonged to the same woman who had guided the hidden fleet's rise. Her hair was gray, her eyes tired but fierce. "This is it," she said. "Our message must reach the galaxy before the Council's exile notice. Once they hear our words, they will know Earth will not bow." She stepped to a microphone. Cameras hidden in secret satellites focused on her face. She looked straight into the lens, as if she could see every world beyond the stars. Her voice was quiet at first, but every word carried weight like thunder. "This is Earth," she began. "We have heard of your vote. We have seen your fear of us. We know you plan to exile us. But let it be known, Earth rejects your exile. We will decide our own destiny." Her words traveled at the speed of light, leaping from one satellite to another. In minutes, they reached the first Council monitoring stations on the edge of the solar system. Within an hour, they spread across the stars, carried by ancient communication relays older than human civilization on distant worlds. Aliens gathered around screens, translators turning her words into hundreds of languages. Some gasped in shock. Others laughed, unable to believe the boldness of these primitive humans. But on certain dark worlds, ancient beings watched in silence, remembering old prophecies carved into forgotten stone on a misty planet lit by two moons. An alien high priest read the words on a glowing crystal. His 4 eyes widened as he whispered, "It has begun. The children of Sol have chosen their path." On a massive ring world spinning around a blue giant, merchants paused in busy markets. They watched the human broadcast replayed on giant holoscreens. Many scoffed, shaking their heads. "Arrogant apes," they muttered. But a few looked worried, sensing something different in humanity's tone. In the shining towers of the Council's capital world, the delegates who had just voted for Earth's exiles saw the message appear on their personal screens. Shock turned to rage, some slammed fists on tables. Others shouted orders to security teams. The council's grand hall erupted into chaos, the calm of their ancient order shattered by a single message from a small blue world. On Earth, every secret bunker and hidden command center erupted in quiet cheers. The message had been sent. Technicians hugged. Pilots in their cockpits grinned behind helmets. For a moment, fear turned to hope, and humanity felt united in a way never seen before, but not everyone was ready to celebrate. In the command center, the woman who had spoken knew what would come next. She watched as reports flashed onto screens. Council warships leaving their hidden ports, older enemies of Earth waking from silence, and spies inside Earth's colonies sending desperate warnings. The message had shaken the stars, but it had also painted a target on humanity. She turned to her generals and scientists, her voice steady despite the storm gathering. "They will come for us," she said. "But they will not find us unprepared?" In orbit around Earth, the first waves of the hidden fleet finished forming their formations. The dreadnoughts took position near the moon, stealth cruisers spread out across empty space, and interceptor wings formed shields around Earth's vulnerable points. Each ship's crew knew their mission: protect humanity's right to decide its own future. Galactic news networks picked up Earth's message, replaying it across thousands of worlds. Headlines screamed warnings. Earth rejects the Council's authority. Humans dare to choose their own path. War coming. The galaxy holds its breath. On planets that had long ignored Earth, people asked questions for the first time. Who were these humans? How could a species so young defy powers that ruled for eons? What gave them such courage or such madness? But on a few forgotten worlds, hidden libraries and ancient minds whispered quietly. There were old stories of a species born near a yellow star, a species said to bring change wherever it went, to challenge the old and forge the new. Some called them destroyers, others called them saviors. But all agreed, when these people rose, nothing would ever be the same again. The Council's messenger ship raced closer to Earth, its engines burning bright against the blackness of space. Its crew prepared to deliver the exile notice. But deep down, many of them felt a chill, wondering if they were flying toward the birth of a storm they could never control. On Earth, the stars above no longer felt distant, they were watching. And for the first time, Earth spoke back with a voice that could not be ignored. Asterisk, 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 asterisk. The Council's home system was a place of beauty and terror. Its skies were filled with giant gas planets ringed in shimmering ice, and moons carved into cities so large they glowed like stars. Massive shipyards floated among asteroid belts, building the Council's grand fleets. For countless ages, no outsider had ever dared come here uninvited. It was the heart of the galaxy's oldest and most powerful empire. But that silence ended the moment Earth's armada appeared. A sudden ripple of light tore open the dark void near the Council's central world. From that swirling hole in space, hundreds of human warships emerged in perfect formation. Titans of steel and fire led the way, their engines burning blue as they turned to face the Council's grand defenses. Stealth cruisers flickered into view, revealing themselves like shadows made solid. Interceptors spread out like swarms of angry wasps. Engines pulsing in the darkness, alarms screamed across the Council's homeworlds. Red lights flashed in the vast halls of the Grand Council Tower. Delegates ran from meeting chambers, robes flying behind them. Massive defense cannons pivoted in every direction. Council fleets, parked peacefully in orbit just hours ago, scrambled in panic. Warships the size of cities powered up their weapons. No one had expected humans to dare come here to the very doorstep of the Council's throne. In the cold space between the two forces, silence stretched like a razor's edge. On one side stood Earth's armada, silent, still, unblinking. On the other side, the Council's countless ships glowed with angry lights, ready to fire, but no one moved first. Every captain knew the first shot could start a war that would Burn worlds, inside the lead human dreadnought, a young captain stood on the command bridge. Her eyes, sharp and determined, looked out at the massive council fleets. She took a slow breath. "Open a channel," she ordered. Her voice, though quiet, carried strength that seemed larger than herself. A voice transmission reached every council ship at once. It was the same woman who had spoken Earth's defiant message. Her tone was steady, iron in every word. "We did not come to beg," she said. "We did not come to kneel. We came to show you that Earth will not be judged by those who fear our strength." Her words echoed across the command bridges of thousands of council ships. Admirals clenched their fists. Junior officers looked at each other in disbelief. In all their history, no species had ever appeared in force here. Humanity's boldness shocked them to their core. From the Council's flagship, a voice crackled. Back, it was cold, brittle, and dripping with fury. "You violate the sacred space of the Council," it spat. "You are surrounded. Surrender or be destroyed." The human captain smiled faintly. She knew the Council expected fear. Instead, she gave them silence. Across the human armada, crews stood at their stations, hands hovering over weapons controls, eyes fixed on enemy ships. Hearts pounded, but no one broke formation on Earth. Every major city watched live feeds from the fleet's command centers. Giant screens showed the Council's massive warships, glowing like monsters in the void. Families huddled together, praying for peace or victory. Children clutched their parents' hands, faces pale as they watched the images from deep space. The Council tried one last time to intimidate. Their largest warship drifted forward, its hull covered in golden armor. Energy cannons crackled to life, blue fire dancing at their tips. Hundreds of smaller council ships spread into attack formations. A voice boomed across all channels. "Stand down, humans, or face annihilation." For a moment, the universe itself seemed to hold its breath. Stars burned silently around the gathered fleets. Planets below watched with quiet horror. Across the galaxy, thousands of alien worlds tuned in to emergency broadcasts. Seeing humanity stand alone against the might of the Council. In that perfect, terrible silence, the human captain stepped closer to her ship's central display. She looked at her officers, men and women of Earth who had trained their whole lives for this moment. "No one fires first," she said firmly. "We show them we are not afraid. But if they attack, we end this quickly." Her words spread through the human fleet like a spark in dry grass. Every pilot, gunner, and engineer repeated the same phrase: "We will not start this war, but we will finish it." Back on the Council's flagship, some admirals hesitated. In the humans' eyes, they saw something new, a fierce unity, an unshakable resolve. Fear spread through the Council ranks. If they fired, they risked a war that could tear the galaxy apart. But if they did? Nothing. They admitted their vote for exile meant nothing at all. Tension crackled like lightning between the two armadas. Each second stretched longer than the last. Humanity had arrived at the Council's heart, uninvited, unbowed, and for the first time in countless ages, the Council realized their power was not absolute. In the dark void between stars, a silent battle of wills raged, and the galaxy watched, breathless, as Earth and the Council stood on the edge of a war that could change everything. Asterisk, 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 asterisk. A small transport ship detached from the lead human dreadnought and began to drift slowly toward the Council's flagship. Unlike the massive warships surrounding it, this vessel was quiet, unarmed, and shining only with a single white light. Across the fleets of both sides, thousands of eyes watched in stunned silence. It was a bold move, one lone ship entering the space between two armed armadas. But Earth had made its choice. Inside the ship, a man stood alone in a plain black suit. He wore no armor, carried no weapon, and bore no grand symbols of power. His eyes were calm, his face stern. He was the envoy of humanity, chosen not for his rank, but for his courage and clarity of thought. As the ship docked with the Council's flagship, his heart pounded in his chest, but he kept his breathing steady. Earth needed him to be strong. Council guards met him at the airlock. Tall, armored beings with sharp eyes and weapons drawn, they glared down at the human who dared come here. He walked between them, head held high, his steps measured and confident. Whispers spread through the halls of the council's flagship. Officials and soldiers lined the corridors. Drawn by the news, the human envoy had arrived. He was led into the council's grand chamber, a circular room with a ceiling so high it disappeared into shadows. Alien delegates stood around him in a wide ring, their eyes glowing, wings fluttering or scales glinting in the dim light. The air was thick with tension. No outsider had set foot here in living memory. Now, a single human stood alone at the center. A voice boomed through the chamber. It belonged to the council's high speaker, an ancient being with eyes like molten gold. "Human," the speaker said, his voice cold as ice, "you violate the council's sacred space. You defy the vote of exile. Why have you come?" The envoy raised his chin, his voice steady and clear, echoing through the vast chamber. "I come with a message from Earth," he said. "You chose to exile us without warning or cause. You hope to break our will and force us to kneel, but we are not here to kneel. We are here to give you a choice." Around the chamber, murmurs rose among the council members. Some delegates looked furious, their claws or tendrils curling in rage. Others shifted uncomfortably, their eyes darting between the envoy and the high speaker. The human continued, his tone growing stronger with every word. "Earth will not accept exile," he said, his voice like steel. "We will remain free, with or without your approval, but we are not here to beg. We are here to demand, either recognize Earth's right to choose its own path or prepare for war." A stunned silence filled the chamber. No one had ever spoken to the council this way. The envoy's words hung in the air like thunder. Outside the council's flagship, fleets of both sides waited. Human captains kept their ships in perfect formation. Council admirals barked orders, afraid of what might come next. The high speaker's eyes burned brighter. "You dare threaten us?" he hissed, his voice shaking with fury. "You dare stand before the council and speak of demands?" The envoy did not flinch. "We do not threaten. We promise," he said softly but firmly. "If you choose war, we will not run, we will fight until our last breath. And even if you destroy us, you will learn that humans never bow to fear." A wave of shock passed through the chamber. Delegates shouted over one another. Some demanded the envoy's immediate execution. Others urged caution, fear creeping into their voices. The chamber erupted into chaos as ancient alliances cracked under the weight of Earth's ultimatum. The high speaker raised a hand, and the room fell silent once more. His voice boomed. "You leave us no choice but to decide here and now." The envoy nodded. "Then decide," he said. "You have 1 hour." With that, he turned and walked from the chamber, his footsteps echoing across the cold floor. Council guards watched him in stunned silence. As he stepped into his transport ship and the hatch sealed behind him, he knew the fate of his species now hung in the balance of an hourglass slowly emptying. Outside, the council's homeworld burned with activity. Sirens wailed, fleets repositioned, shields powered up. Across the galaxy, millions of alien eyes turned to live broadcasts, watching the final moments before the council's decision. News networks showed images of the lone human envoy standing defiantly. Analysts speculated wildly. Would the council choose war or peace? On Earth, people held their breath. In bunkers, city squares, and orbiting stations, humanity waited as a single clock ticked down. Parents hugged children. Soldiers loaded weapons. Scientists checked systems. Pilots stared at countdowns glowing on their displays. The galaxy itself seemed to grow silent, as if even the stars were waiting. In the council chamber, members argued with rising desperation. Some delegates shouted that humanity must be crushed before they spread defiance. Others whispered warnings of prophecies and legends of the children of soul. Fear and pride clashed in every word. The envoy's message had done what no battle could. It divided the council, revealed their doubts, and forced them to see humanity not as prey, but as equals or as a threat too dangerous to ignore. As the final seconds of the hour approached, All of creation seemed to pause. Would the council choose peace or light, the spark of a war that could burn the stars themselves? The grand chamber of the council trembled with rage, fear, and uncertainty. Every alien delegate stood in their place, their faces twisted in anger or pale with dread. The human envoy's words still echoed through the hall like thunder. We will not bow, choose peace or war. Now the hour was almost gone. The council had minutes left to decide. Some delegates demanded immediate war. Their voices cracked with fury as they shouted to launch fleets, burn Earth, and teach humanity a lesson in obedience. But others, older and wiser, warned that attacking humans now would not end with easy victory. They stood at our gates without fear, one delegate rasped, her ancient eyes wide. If we strike, we may start a war that will spread like fire across the stars. On the council's grand screens, live feeds showed Earth's armada still waiting in perfect formation. No human ship had moved. No one fired. They only stood, engines glowing like silent promises in the dark. The humans were daring the council to make the first move, and showing the galaxy their unbreakable will. In secret corners of the chamber, quiet conversations began. Some delegates, once loyal to the council's authority, started to wonder if humanity might offer a new path. A path away from the council's centuries of fear and control. Whispers spread like wildfire. Could humans become allies instead of enemies? Could they break the council's endless cycle of power and terror? At the center of the hall, the high speaker slammed his staff on the floor, a sharp crack silencing the room. His golden eyes blazed with fury. He demanded a vote. Council of Worlds, decide now. War with Earth or cancel their exile and allow them to stand free. The chamber went dead silent. One by one, lights flashed above each delegate, counting their votes. Blue for war, green for peace. Around the galaxy, billions of eyes watched as the ancient council chose humanity's fate. Blue lights blinked, then green. Blue again, then two greens in a row. Tension mounted with each flash. Delegates clenched fists. Council guards shifted nervously. The high speaker's face grew more rigid with every green light. Finally, the last delegate's vote glowed bright. Green. The chamber erupted not with cheers but with stunned gasps. By the smallest margin in council history, the vote was decided. Earth's exile was cancelled. The council would not start a war for a moment. The envoy stood alone outside his ship, breathing hard as the news reached him. His eyes closed in relief, but only for a second. Because he and all of Earth knew the truth, the council had shown their hearts. Even though they chose peace today, they had proven they could never truly be trusted. In the void near the council's world, Earth ships received the message. Stand down, the council has cancelled the exile. Cheers echoed through every human vessel. Crews hugged, cried, and shouted with triumph. Across Earth, cities erupted in celebration. Fireworks lit up night skies from New York to Nairobi, Beijing to Buenos Aires. Humanity had faced the oldest power in the galaxy and stood unbroken. But in the council's halls, eyes narrowed, anger simmered behind forced smiles. Plans began to form in dark minds who feared what humans might do next. Some plotted quietly, unwilling to let Earth's defiance go unpunished. Others, inspired by humanity's courage, wondered if it was time for real change among the stars. On Earth's lead dreadnought, the young captain stared at the council world one last time before ordering her ships to leave. She knew they had won a battle, not the war. Humanity had glimpsed the galaxy's true face and could never unsee it. As Earth's armada turned, engines flaring, they left the council's system without firing a shot. But they carried with them new knowledge and a new purpose. Humans would no longer wait for the council's approval. They would chart their own path among the stars, stronger and more united than ever. In the final moments, as Earth's fleet vanished into the deep dark, the narrator's voice rang out a promise and a warning. Humanity stood at the gates of power and showed the stars we will never bow again. The council thought they could break us. Instead, they forged a force beyond their control. And now, as Earth sets its course for the unknown, the galaxy must wonder, what will humans do next? Far across the stars, old enemies in secret. Watchers felt a chill. The children of Sol were awake, and their story had only just begun. Asterisk, 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 asterisk.